Hey, folks, we are literally just moments away from Mother's Day. I mean, not moments, but literally days. And what are you going to do now? You haven't gotten a gift, you screwed up. Well, you're going to get flowers? How about you upgrade from something rather than it's going to last 4 days and then just be a mess? Give a gift that's going to last day in, day out for years to come. Every day can be Mother's Day for your mom with an Aura frame. What is an Aura frame? It is the best digital frame on the market. You don't take my word for it. Somebody said it. Well, Wirecutter. Wirecutter said, but you can also take my word for it. I own, not only do I own an Aura frame, but I have given it as a gift to multiple people. My mother, my father, my girlfriend's parents. They loved it so much. They got a bunch of kids. They got one for every kid. Their family's a little closer than mine. But be that as it may, it is the easiest gift for you to give for your mom. And when you cross-reference that with how happy it's going to make her, you can't do better than this, period. Even if you had months in advance to plan, you can load up as many videos and photos as you want onto the frame before it's out of the box. You'll never see the frame, and you can load it up after you purchase it and send it directly to your mom. And you can put as many videos as photos as you want. You upload it from the app. The app is great. You could share the app. So if you got, siblings and you all want to give photos to mom, you all can use the app. It's shared the frame. You pop up stuff up there. You can get into a competition, see who puts in the most photos, get into fights. I mean, it'd just be like the old days.
Exactly right.
It is named #1 by Wirecutter. You can save on the gifts mom loved by visiting auraframes.com. For a limited time, listeners can get $25 off their best-selling Carver Mat frame with the code MAJORITY. That's AURA, auraframes.com, promo code MAJORITY. Support the show. Mention us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Check this out. It's a great gift. You will not be sorry you did this. All right, quick break. And
time for the show.
Oh, yeah, time for the show. So not a quick break.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
And I get the feeling you've been cheated.
It is Monday, May 4th, 2026. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Nicholas Heinrich, former civil servant who worked at USAID under 4 administrations, and author of Into the Wood Chipper, a whistleblower's account of how the Trump administration shredded USAID. Also on the program today, Iran threatens retaliation after Trump says U.S. will guide ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Should say, about 15 different reports all contradicting themselves about all of that. Not to be surprised. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court just moments ago temporarily restores access to the abortion pill mifepristone, which is delivered by mail. This is following the Fifth Circuit, that's the one out of Texas, the right-wing one, ban of mifepristone by mail. Also on the program today, Republicans seized on the Supreme Court destruction of the Voting Rights Act last week by beginning to eliminate black elected districts in their states and, in fact, offices. U.S. to withdraw 5,000 troops from Germany report, FBI redirected 25% of its staff to target immigrants for deportation. That's a 23 times increase. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, in a secret tape, it was revealed, helped a Republican state treasurer's re-election campaign because the Democrat who was running was not supporting him as Harris's VP.
Gosh, it's such a shocker that he's so petty.
2/3 of Americans now say the country is headed in the wrong direction. New report, Obamacare enrollment to decline by 20%, leaving 5 million people newly uninsured. Lastly, Daily Wire cuts half of its staff in a retrenchment. Oh, and speaking of which, Rudy Giuliani's on his deathbed. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is
Fun Day Monday.
Fun Day Monday. Just looking for some new batteries for
for your mouse.
my mouse.
One of your many mouses. How
Yeah.
many mouses do you have on that? Mice. How many mice do you have on that desk?
It's not important.
1, 2, 3.
3.
3.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I like that's the way I roll.
Right. It's a variety pack.
I mean, I'm not saying that there are certain idiosyncrasies that I have. I'm not denying that.
No one would deny that.
Right. Okay.
You denying that would be a denial of reality.
That's true.
And that's when we would put you in the home.
Some
That's right.
people might say, like, you might get just a stronger computer to run 4 different monitors.
I guess
Some
there-
might.
I
One
guess some
computer per
people-
monitor.
I guess some people might say that. Matt. Incidentally, we fixed the cameras.
We did, and you know how? Well, I mean, my
say
camera. What, you don't want to say it?
I was up all night. It was a very, very technical fix where I had to do some coding and.
Matt said it's hardwired into the computer.
I
like
did-
it was hardwired into the Wi-Fi.
Because
to
I asked
to
you
the internet.
that.
What do you mean you asked me that?
I mean, in Matt's defense, how can we tell which cord is going where? It's like a snake
Matt,
pit
do you
down
know
here.
what an Ethernet looks
Well,
like?
first of all, who set up that computer? Who set that one up?
Oh, the first one wasn't.
Neither was this one.
Yeah,
And
but
that's
you're
what I
in
was
charge
asked
of the
about.
wires.
So it
All right,
turns
let's
out I
not-
was on the Wi-Fi and not the Ethernet for
Okay.
like how
I
many
assumed Sam would have
years?
connected it.
I mean,
Since COVID.
And that's why my camera was glitching out and I was having a bit of a breakdown about it. Anyway,
so we've got a
Coming to
lot
you in
of the news.
1080p.
Well, things look great. I still have a what do you call it? A pantyhose over my camera lens. That way, people can't tell how quickly I'm aging. Folks, there are. We're going to have an expert on oil and what we can anticipate if this conflict with Iran continues. Over maybe even in the event that it was to somehow wrap up within a couple of days. It feels like it's the opposite, but it's very difficult to tell. We're also going to have an expert on the Voting Rights Act later this week. But nevertheless, prices are through the roof for gas. They are anticipated to continue to climb. You see reports of like gas tracking services and companies and apps who are like, we don't have the capacity to, we just didn't design our apps to check in real time for gas increases because it's happening multiple times a day in some places. Places like Ohio and Illinois, gas prices are just exponentially growing. And Donald Trump's handling of the Iran conflict is also getting panned. Here's ABC News reporting on Trump's just absolutely dismal approval ratings.
Tonight, as the war with Iran drives gas prices to a 4-year high, new polling shows 2/3 of Americans say the country is headed in the wrong direction. President Trump's disapproval rating hitting a record 62%, and the president underwater on every issue tested: cost of living, inflation, the war with Iran, and the economy. On the campaign trail, Trump had promised to lower the cost of living.
We're going down and getting gasoline below $2 a gallon, bring down the price of everything from electricity rates to groceries, airfares, and housing costs.
But now gas prices surging to an average of $4.43 a gallon nationwide. Americans forced to make trade-offs. 44% say they've cut back on driving. 42% say they've cut other household expenses.
I cut down on groceries a little bit because gas is just more of an expense now. I used to not think about it.
Jet fuel costs have nearly doubled since the war began. The Trump administration insists the pain is temporary.
Once the strait opens, you'll see prices come down immediately.
But experts say it could take more than a year for gas prices to return to pre-war levels. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy pressed by our Martha Raddatz.
Energy prices have come up. You're right. And
really?
again, you have to
Thank you,
look at the
Sean.
president to say, what does a leader do? What does a president do when he sees a potential nuclear Iran? He's not going to tolerate it.
But despite Trump's numbers, the poll shows that Americans do not trust Democrats much more on the issues. Of the 11 issues tested, Democrats are only trusted more on 3 issues: health care, education, and the cost of living.
Selena Wang at the White House tonight.
There's a lot to say about this. I should tell you that in terms of like just where Donald Trump's approval rating lies, in modern times, I think Harry Truman was, had probably the lowest in like the past 100 years because of the Korean War. But the George W. Bush, if I remember correctly, the lowest he got, and maybe it wasn't for very long, was like 25%. Right at the end of his term when we had the financial crisis. Right. This is after Katrina in Iraq and his attempt to privatize Social Security, 25%. And Nixon, I think, was probably also around 25% when he left. But remember, this is like as they're exiting. This is not in year 2. This is my guess. I don't know this for sure. This is the lowest any president has been in their second year of their term, even if it was their second term.
And have you ever seen a
sorry.
situation?
Sorry, you were muted.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, a little cough. But have you ever seen a situation, too, where the president is also so deeply unpopular after doing the exact opposite of what he said he was going to do on the campaign trail? I mean, the no new wars thing was a big part of why he kind of won by default over the Democrats.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't...
That's unprecedented too. Like he lied his way into the presidency and is going back on every campaign promise.
George Herbert Walker Bush famously got, I think, voted out because he said, "Read my lips, no new taxes against Dukakis," and then raised taxes.
Yeah. Although, I mean, that was the ABC segment covering that. Isn't they? They're the communist Kimmel network as well, right? So you can't trust what they're saying. Except every poll is horrendous for him at this point. And there was an analysis by Morgan Stanley that this is the biggest decline in the dollar, 10% since January 2025 in 50 years. And the same analysis says if things continue, the dollar is going to drop another 10% by the end of the year. It's an overall just like
it's going to help
iceberg.
Our exports, actually. It will help our trade imbalance. But aside from that, it's going to be a problem. We should also say, too, like we just had a major airline collapse. Now, a lot of that is their own fault, but they were pushed over the brink because of the cost of jet fuel. We may see multiple ones collapse or need a bailout because of the jet fuel situation coming out of Iran. And then we're just going to start to see a cascading bunch of stuff as a function of that. The amazing thing about that poll is the failure of the Democratic Party to be positioned to take full advantage of this. And in part, it's a function of their failure to sort of build on the good things that Joe Biden did in terms of the economy and whatnot. Like all of that message was completely muddled with the Harris campaign. It's been completely muddled really for more than a decade, really 30 or 40 years since the first Clinton presidency, where the idea of a full-throated economic populism, both as in terms of, there's been some in terms of rhetoric, to be fair, even Clinton sort of got a little bit populist in his campaigning, and that's what was effective for him. Obama did too. But they never follow through in the context of major economic transformation as they govern. And it's just hard to sell it as rhetoric if you repeatedly do not provide the goods after that rhetoric. And so now we have a situation where the Democrats cannot capitalize in the way that they should. They're certainly going to do well in the House. They may even retake the Senate. But we need historic levels of majorities for the repair that needs to be done to this country. So we have
no one wants a nuclear Israel.
And it's not just that. You can go back to his famous, for every blue collar we lose in Pittsburgh, we're going to pick up 2 in the Philly suburbs. And in the fashioning of a new electorate that was more economically neoliberal, for lack of a better term. I mean, literally. So that's where we are. All right. We're going to take a break in a moment, and in a moment we'll be speaking to Nicholas Einrich, former civil servant who worked at USAID under 4 administrations, author of a new book, Into the Wood Chipper, a whistleblower's account of how the Trump administration shredded USAID. Before we do, a couple of words from our sponsors. It was the weekend, and I spent most of it in essentially 2 pieces of Cozy Earth clothing.
I did too, actually.
My joggers, and I got a new
set.
I don't even know what to call it. I guess it's a jogger's top, but it's like a sweatshirt, but it has like a lounge feel material. It's good enough to take your kid out to his rock climbing thing that he's now into. And you actually look sporty enough that you project, I could be doing this. But in fact, you're not going to. You're just feeling comfortable. And
you want to look like you belong.
Yeah, you want to be able to look at, like, the idea of actually walking outside, unless I was going to play like a sport with joggers, was just absolutely incomprehensible to me.
But now
I love it. I love it. It goes with my favorite hoodie, which is also a Cozy Earth thing. I have Cozy Earth sheets now, and I have Cozy Earth comforter and duvet.
I have their robe that I've been wearing all around the house.
All this stuff is sweet. And I got a little pair of, like, I guess you call them clogs. I call them house shoes.
I got slippers too from Cozy Earth. Yep. We really are reliant on Cozy Earth.
It's pretty crazy. I guess they call them the lake house clogs. Cozy Earth clogs are built for every part of your home with a cushioned footbed, a soft interior, and easy slip-on silhouette. They're supportive enough to stand in, cozy enough to forget that you're wearing them. And Cozy Earth purchases, here's the best part. Well, I don't know if this is the best part. It's actually, the stuff is better, but they're risk-free. You try it for yourself. Cozy Earth backs everything with a 30-day return policy because they're confident you're going to feel the difference. And if you don't, returning it is simple. These are made to last. A lifetime warranty on your homeware isn't something you see often. It's the kind of commitment that tells you something about how they're made. Thanks to Cozy Earth for sponsoring this episode. I should say, the way they're made is one of the primary materials that they use is viscose, which comes from bamboo, and it feels substantial, but it doesn't feel too warm. You keep warm, but you also stay cool. I don't know how to express that in any other way. This spring, give yourself the kind of comfort that lives with you all day, not just the moment you get home. Head to CozyEarth.com, use the code Majority Report, all one word, for an exclusive 20% off. That's code Majority Report for an exclusive 20% off. And if you see a post-purchase survey, mention that you heard about Cozy Earth right here. Comfort lives here. That's their new slogan, I guess.
It's appropriate.
Do you get what I'm saying about the heavy?
Yes,
Okay.
It's shocking.
I don't want to that I was able to articulate it.
No, just how the material is like so multi-purpose and it is usable with different temperatures.
But you get what I'm saying in terms of like the weight.
Yeah, I get what you're
Okay,
saying.
I'm just trying to say. Also, sponsoring the program today, estate planning. Now, I know what you're thinking. I don't have a huge estate. Why do I need estate planning? I got news for you. Even if you're leaving just a 2016 Subaru, and I'm not suggesting that I'm leaving right now, I'm hoping to drive that car for many more years.
You're just suggesting that Subaru makes a great car that could last 30, 40, 50
That's
years.
a totally different story. But the point being that, like, you don't want to leave if something, God forbid, happens. You don't want to leave your family having to deal with stuff like probate and all it's not a seamless thing, is my point. And estate planning can be very, very intimidating, but you need a will. Trust and Will offers affordable attorney-designed state-specific estate plans online that you can create in as little as 30 minutes. Trust and Will is the most trusted name in online estate planning. And if you need expert input, if things are a little bit more complicated for you, they have attorney support is available as an add-on to your plan. It is a super easy to use website. You go in, they just keep asking you questions. They're simple questions. How many kids do you have? Do you want to leave this to your kid? Do you want to split it equally? Do you resent your child? Don't ask that part. But the point is, very, very easy, and they build it for you. And if you need to update, we had another kid. You got divorced, or whatever it is. Super easy to update your trusts or your will, because the platform keeps everything organized, updated, and ready. You can also share access with trusted contacts to ensure that your will is carried out. It has bank-level encryption, secure sharing features, and your most important documents and details stay protected and accessible online. According to Trustpilot, Trust and Will is the most trusted name in online estate planning. I mean, particularly when you get to my age, but I wish I had done this earlier. You're like, oh shit, what if I depart and it's just a mess? You don't want that.
No.
This makes it really easy to have everything organized, have the peace of mind that, in the event that you have an early departure or even, an on-time departure, everything is going to be easy for your family. Trust and Will, affordable estate plans, priceless peace of mind. Go to trustandwill.com/majority. Get 20% off. That's trustandwill.com/majority to get your 20% off. Trustandwill.com/majority. We'll put that information in the podcast and YouTube description. Quick break. When we come back, Nicholas Einrich, former civil servant who worked at USAID under 4 administrations, author of Into the Wood Chipper, a whistleblower's account of how the Trump administration shredded USAID. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. Want to welcome to the program Nicholas Einrich, former civil servant, worked at USAID under 4 administrations, starting with Obama, Trump, Biden, Trump again, and author of Into the Wood Chipper, a whistleblower's account of how the Trump administration shredded the USAID. Nicholas, welcome to the program. I really enjoyed your book. It was like a memoir, but also sort of like also a policy book in many ways. In like a sort of it's rare that we get to see sort of the operations of these things. And in this case, it's a very specific agency, but this is going to be the story, I think, of our entire government. Maybe not our entire, but a vast majority of all these important agencies, and get a sense of like the institutional degradation that has taken place over just 2 years now, not even 2 years, and what it's going to take to rebuild. So welcome to the program. Why don't we just start with what the USAID $40 billion budget, I believe it is, or was, what did it do?
Yeah, so USAID was the agency in the federal government that delivered foreign aid and international development to countries around the world. Very successful on about 40 billion, which was less than 1% of the federal budget. Saved 92 million lives over just the last 20 years alone. But important to recognize that it was not a charity. It also did a lot of things to keep Americans safer, especially in global health where I worked. I think since the COVID pandemic, I think we all know that infectious diseases abroad do not necessarily stay overseas, and we help countries prevent and detect infectious diseases before they could come to our borders. And we built partnerships that helped the United States and built goodwill and on the foundation of American generosity over the course of about 6 decades that created an international framework that supported the United States' success over that time.
I mean, it was created under the Kennedy administration, along with things like the Peace Corps. This was a way to project, or in many respects, like American influence, if not power, soft power, and to do so by making friends. I mean, like we essentially to help people. And it was, I mean, aside from, like you say, a lot of this had implications for American health too, because particularly, less so maybe in 1960, but certainly by the time you get to 2020, we saw quite quickly how something that starts all the way around the world can impact this country. It was meant to sort of be, in many respects, good PR, aside from sort of like, it's a good thing to help people. It was good PR for the U.S. Give us a sense of like the various silos, because I've had conversations with the people who are very skeptical about USAID, both because I would imagine they perceive it as a slush fund for the CIA, which, frankly, I mean, I'd love you to address that. I think probably a lot of our agencies are, including a lot of our, defense contractors, but also a mechanism in which to project U.S. corporate agriculture power. So give us a sense of what the breakdown of like how the budget is dispersed and those two critiques, if you would.
Sure. I mean, so we worked in several development sectors. Global health was probably the biggest at about $8 billion a year that USAID was supporting. Humanitarian assistance is probably the next largest. But we also worked in other sectors like food security and education and democracy and human rights and agriculture. And so, but yes, to address your point, I think that's exactly right. It's not just a charity. It's meant to help America and lead through soft power. And I think it was General Mattis, actually, who said that if you don't fully fund the development budget, then you need to buy me more bullets, because USAID and the work that we did in development and the partnerships that we built was basically the most efficient and effective way to keep America in a leadership role around the world for since Kennedy set it up in 1961. It's not a front for the CIA, and as some of the conspiracy theorists on the far right wing were able to convince Elon Musk, and part of why he ripped it down, just because the name AID is an acronym, and the A stands for agency. It's Agency for International Development, and not CIA. But you know, that we did always have to deal with conspiracy theorists. I was very surprised, and obviously to a disastrous extent, by how much the administration picked up on those conspiracy theories, and then without learning what the agency actually did, tore it down before even trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I want to get into those specifics, but let's just in general, I want to talk a little bit about like what the agency, because I think people need to understand the stakes here of exactly what was destroyed. Again, you said $40 billion. That's not, it's to say it's less than 1% of the budget, I think sort of like overestimates how big it was. I mean, our defense budget this year is something like $950 billion.
Yeah.
So $40 billion is like a rounding error here. And so let's just talk about, I want to talk about the Sudan in particular, what the U.S. aid was doing in Sudan and is now not doing in Sudan. And then I also want to talk about PEPFAR.
Great. Yeah, so in Sudan, maybe I can start there. That was a country where we were largely providing humanitarian aid and support. In the global health field, that meant providing emergency food assistance and emergency medical assistance, which honestly, when the agency was shut down in the spring of last year, these were where we started to see the first anecdotal examples of people losing their lives due to the cuts. It was because, and just absolutely atrocious stories of families walking all day to the clinic with the USAID logo on the side, only to find it closed, and then having to go home and decide which of their children to feed because they were not able to get food, or pregnant women who were not able to get, were having emergency childbirth issues, were not able to take the emergency ambulance that they had arranged because they were shuttered overnight and were unable to access emergency care when they needed it. So those were kind of like the first emergency cases that we started to hear rolling in about February of 2025. And yeah, just to put it in scope, right? Maybe the less than 1% is kind of a hard way for people to factor, but think about the what's been happening with some of the wars that we're currently engaged in, or other numbers where you're seeing people die. Just imagine that so far to date, from the cuts to USAID, already 750,000 people have died, and estimates are that about 14 million will die within the next 5 years alone due to those cuts. These are unnecessary deaths. So when you, in the long run, when you think of when the dust settles on the Trump administration, this is going to be his legacy, is tearing down an agency that has one of the largest policy implications of any of the foreign policy actions that he's taken, even though it was such a small amount of money.
So it's basically, a week and a half of what we've done in Iran at this point, in terms of expense. And how do we know about those deaths?
Well, it's mostly due to the incredible work of journalists who have been following the case of what's been happening with the cuts and tracking down what the implications are for those. Most of the projections are based on modeling from disease experts and other sorts of technical projections, because the problem is that the State Department is refusing to release the data, which is required by Congress for them to provide. But basically, since the cuts have been in place, we don't actually know the real numbers. What we're looking at is estimates, because the State Department is sitting on the data of what the actual impacts are. So, I mean, for me, that's one of the first things is that we need to do is have Congress demand that the congressionally required data be released so that we can actually see what the true impacts actually are.
All right, let's go through the sort of just walk through the timeline a little bit, because you guys at USAID were looking at Project 2025 in the wake of Trump's win, maybe even before that, in 2024, and we're nervous. Tell us like what you were anticipating, what you guys were doing at that time, and then we'll go up to Doge, which was sort of like boxed out Russ vote briefly, and to obviously like a horrible outcome, but maybe a similar outcome.
Yeah, I mean, after the election, anytime there's an election, the first thing we start to do within the civil service is try to learn everything we can about what the incoming administration is planning for USAID. And so, that meant reading Project 2025. That meant trying to think about who the political appointees might be that are going to come in to lead the agency and what their plans might be. And I was a little bit nervous, to be honest with you. And that was mostly, didn't have much to do with the agency itself. It had to do with the incoming administration's general opinion of the civil servants and career officials that were federal employees in the first place, which was very negative. I mean, you had Russ Vought saying that he was going to try to traumatize the civil servants and turn us into the villains and make us not even want to come to work. That was what I was scared of. But what I wasn't scared of was the agency shutting down, because we had a long history of bipartisan support for our programs, including under the previous Trump administration. And we did expect some shifts. We were probably going to be moving away from some of our family planning work. We were probably going to be moving away from partnerships with the World Health Organization. But it never dawned on me that that they would come in and pull the rug out on these promises that we had made to countries around the world.
Rubio was a big supporter of USAID, and
right.
So that you thought would provide some respite, but no.
Right. I mean, Rubio was one of the biggest supporters on Capitol Hill of USAID. I mean, he has a long history of touting the agency and its praises, even saying things like, you should, if you ever have a chance, if you're a critic of USAID, just go to Africa and see the people whose lives and whose children's lives have been saved by our programs there. And it's going to be very hard. I think he said it's going to be very hard to radicalize a people whose children's lives have been saved by American drugs. And so I think that one of the saddest things about all of this is the person who was in charge of this, to the extent that he was, Marco Rubio, was absolutely a huge support. He knew what we were giving up.
Can you take us through then, like what it was like to have these Doge people kind of storm your offices in many ways, and like what the early signs were for you that this is going to be something entirely different than what we anticipated?
Yeah, I mean, it was really, to be honest, quite infuriating. I mean, to the point at the initial start of the segment, talking about the book does have to go through operations, and I think it's important to do that because this is what happens when an agency is hollowed out of its expertise and is replaced by a group of completely uninformed and unqualified Doge bros, tech bros, who really not only don't understand anything about how international development or global health works, but really don't even understand how the government works. Terrible managers, no experience with working with projects or people. And so when things start to go wrong, all they could really do was smack the table and make things worse, honestly, and yell at each other. And so I did my best to explain and to warn them of what the impacts of these cuts were going to be, but it truly fell on deaf ears. I mean, they basically would, when I first briefed them on what we did in global health, for example, they looked at me like they were totally shocked and said that when they thought of what USAID did in global health, they just assumed it was just abortion.
They just thought that USAID just provided abortions?
that was it, right? And we don't do. First of all, we don't do that. There's statutory requirements that prohibit the promoting or provision of abortions with any USAID funds, and we've provided 0 abortions, although that is a conspiracy theory of the far right. But to think that that's all we did, even if you thought that we did that at all, which we don't, and have no idea of what we do to save 26 million lives from HIV, or the 10 million people who are diagnosed with tuberculosis each year, and just have no idea what we do in a global immunization campaign to save babies all over the world. It was just preposterous. And so these were the people that were in charge of tearing down our programs. They weren't doing it because they didn't know, because they thought that it was like an inefficient project, like they said, or because they were trying to realign foreign aid with the president's agenda. They were doing it to satisfy the ego of the world's richest man, and they really didn't care what it was that we did.
Well, give me a sense of like what the type of people that you were working with, and just yourself in terms of like what kind of expertise, how long people had been in this, just so we get a sense of like, this is not, and people should understand, these are not a bunch of political appointees. You had been there for 10 years. Where were you in terms of like age and experience? Like, give me like a sense as we look across your office. Who are the types of people that we're going to see?
Yeah, I mean, so they basically fell into 2 categories, I would say. In terms of the political appointees in DOGE, it fell into either the cruel. Or
well, I'm not talking about Doge. I'm talking about your fellow. I want to get to Doge in a minute.
Oh, okay.
But I'm talking about like the people in your office, because I think people have this understanding of like government. They're all bureaucrats. They don't care. Like my experience has been that people who go into the line of work that you do so because of a deep sense of caring about, the EPA environment, or food safety, or people's health. That like this is not a business that you go into, a business that you're going into. This is like a calling.
Yeah, I have never worked with such a renowned group of experts. These were the doctors, epidemiologists, public health specialists that were the best in the world, and they came from all over the world. And as you say, they saw USAID as an opportunity to contribute to saving lives and making the world a healthier and safer place on a scale that we just couldn't do. There was no other organization or space where you could have such an incredible impact. So people gave up huge salaries. People gave up, practicing medicine. People gave up working in, high-paid firms to come and have the greatest impact that they thought they could. And I've never worked with such an incredible group of experts. So, again, that's what made it so infuriating to see them all kicked out the door.
That's what's so, like, I can only imagine have these guys come in, never mind their like youth and their arrogance, but also the ignorance. But you were about to describe Doge as these folks as having like 2 potential qualities.
Right. So there were those who were cruel, and there were those who were buffoons. Is kind of the way I describe it. And the cruel ones were the people who had come in with an axe to grind, and these are the people who had been veterans of the first Trump administration and.
Let's just take a quick break. Sorry. Excuse me for 1 second. I'm sorry. We got a technical problem. What's going on?
I'm not sure. Quick break.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll fix this, and we'll come back and let you explain the sort of malevolent and buffoon distinction between these 2 types of Doge people. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland. We're talking to Nicholas Einrich. And Nicholas, you were saying before a little technical glitch there that there are two types of people who came in with Doge. Those who had an axe to grind and those who were just buffoons. Walk us through that. Because the ones who had an axe to grind, how much of there was like just purely ideological?
Actually, it was kind of what I saw was a deep-seated hatred for the career officials. So, for example, my boss, a guy named Mark Lloyd, came in and was just with glee excited to get rid of the staff at the agency. And when I asked him why, like what his problem was with the career officials, he told me he had been at USAID previously in the last Trump administration, and he had been treated terribly by the staff. They had leaked a bunch of stuff about him to the press, and they had ultimately killed his dog. And so these were kind of like the people that I was working with. They actually thought that the career staff were pet murderers. And so I knew I was going to have trouble getting through to them.
I don't understand what that means. He thought that people who worked at USAID had poisoned his dog?
Was it Kristi Noem what he was thinking of, or what?
I did not pry. I just kind of like said, "Oh my," and didn't ask a follow-up question. So I don't know how the dog was purportedly killed. All I know is that USAID staff don't kill people's dogs. The point is that he.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to thank you for clarifying. Okay.
I can say that with a high degree of confidence, and it's really like, but the point is that, he told me he came in with a list of staff that he was excited to get rid of. So that's sort of just to give you a sense of the people on the cruel side. On the buffoon side, this is primarily where the tech bros fit into the equation. And what they did was just move as quickly as they could to tear down as much as they could. So, but it came out in just absolutely ridiculous ways. So, for example, when they started terminating our contracts, they did it by just doing a keyword search of what the different contracts were by their title, which is like an absolutely horrendous way to figure out whether our contracts are like essential or not. And what they ended up terminating, for example, was one of the contracts provided potable water to American staff in South Sudan. So as soon as their contract was terminated, they had to end up starting to ration drinking water because they didn't know if it could be undone. Another contract that they terminated was for the system that manages the termination of contracts. So they ended up terminating the contract that they needed to terminate contracts, and it was just preposterous.
Okay, we got to slow down on this so that people can fully understand this. So they decided on keywords. Were you privy to what the keywords were?
They were looking for, so in terms of the global health agreements, they were looking for the term life-saving assistance. And so, unfortunately, the contracts, we titled them. These are titled by wonky bureaucrats who make lots of silly acronyms for our projects, because we never had any idea that someone would come in and just by looking at the contract names without asking us would eliminate those contracts entirely. So we were up against an impossible task by now knowing that which contracts would be saved would be done exclusively by what their names were.
Well, first off, like the idea of just canceling contracts by choosing keywords and not even reading the contract, having any idea of what it is, is just nuts. Like I can't even imagine any enterprise ever doing that. I just can't even imagine anybody doing that. But to use life-saving assistance as the keywords, that seems completely deranged.
Yeah. I mean, I describe the Doge Bros as basically like children playing in a cardboard spaceship, just pressing buttons and not really caring what happened. I think the only people who would, without any understanding of what they were doing, terminate contracts that were needed to save millions of lives around the world are people who just don't care or who have no understanding of what it was that they were messing with.
Or they do, right? I mean, like Elon Musk is basically a eugenicist in many ways in the way that he speaks about the rest of the world. Like, I mean, I'm just trying to take it a step further and consider, did they know that this is what they were doing? I mean, they pretend that they care about abortions and lives being saved in their view on that front via USAID, but they're more than happy to kill thousands of people with just the drop of a hat.
Well, certainly Elon Musk knew enough of what the damage was to lie about it publicly. So there were multiple occasions where he stood at the White House and told the American public, for example, that Ebola prevention activities had restarted after they had stopped, which was just simply not true. It was the same day that was happening, his DOGE team was terminating the contracts that we needed to, for example, screen passengers in airports to make sure that people with symptoms of Ebola didn't get on international flights, potentially onwards to the U.S., or contracts that we needed to move personal protective equipment into Uganda to help to deal with an outbreak and keep healthcare workers safe. So it wasn't that he just didn't know what we did. He was actually lying about it publicly. This was what kind of ultimately convinced me that I needed to speak up from inside to let the public know what was actually happening.
Yeah, talk about that dilemma that I think you had, particularly not just you, but your colleagues had when they first sort of started coming in, when you anticipated this, and then at what point you sort of, that dilemma became not a dilemma anymore, became just sort of like the only option for you. Because I'm fascinated by the decision making that happens when, and I imagine it happens throughout our government on some level in this instance, like, do I stay and mitigate the damage, or am I endorsing this in some way, or am I facilitating the damage? Talk about that dilemma and that calculation.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the dilemma that we face. As civil servants, our job, of course, is to administer the policy of the president. And as long as that's legal and not causing massive destruction, that's what I signed up for, and that's what I always do. So I'm not an activist, and I'm not an advocate. And so it was a hard decision to make. And so at first, when I saw that Secretary Rubio had allowed this waiver from the freeze on foreign aid to allow us to continue life-saving work, I dove in, and so did my colleagues. We decided, hey, if there's anything we can do to restart these programs, this is what we're here for. I don't care if everything else is falling apart. If there's anything we can save, we do it. But as it became clear over the course of a few weeks that they were going to stop us at every turn, they had actually no intention of letting us actually implement life-saving programs, that was when I realized that all we were doing by staying there was staying silent. And as it was, again, as lies were being spread publicly, I decided that it was like I wasn't going to be able to push back from within the government. And at some point I crossed the line into I was being complicit in a part of the problem. And at that point, I and several of my colleagues decided that we needed to write a series of memos that described everything we had done to try to restart our programs, how we'd been stopped at every turn by DOGE and the administration, and what the actual impact of those cuts and those decisions were going to be on the lives of millions around the world.
And tell us how you disseminated those and what the fallout was.
Yeah, so I compiled those memos and sent them out widely and publicly. And that same day, I was placed on administrative leave by the Trump administration, and that was unfortunately the end of my career.
Give us a sense of how much savings. I mean, I know that the budget annually is $40 billion. I don't know where that money goes until Congress reappropriates it, theoretically. Like, I mean, it could be just sitting in an account in Treasury, right? Like, labeled USAID or whatever the specific programs are. Do you have a sense of, I mean, ostensibly, this is what it was about. It was about saving money. It really seems more about, like you say, either resent and like a revenge tour for some people, or just sort of a complete disregard for the functioning of government, and almost like an ideological ignorance that none of this is me. It's like a nihilism.
Yeah, I mean, there were no savings. Let me just put that up front. I mean, to calculate what they were considering savings, you have to start with the premise that there was zero value in the first place in any of our programs. So if it was zero, then everything that they saved would be savings. However, it turns out that the way they didn't know how to actually save things. In fact, the damage that they did by breaking our payment system, for example, alone, ended up racking up interest at levels that we had actually never seen before, so much that it broke our treasury account, and we were not able to actually make payments even to the few organizations that actually had the ear of our leadership and they were going to get a little bit of money. Even those payments were not able to be made, and we racked up interest into the billions. And the latest estimates that are coming from inside the State Department, well, actually from inside Russ Vought's team at the Office of Management and Budget, are that it's going to cost $19 billion just for administrative closeout of the agency, and that's not including the lawsuits that are going to be coming from all the contractors that had the rug pulled out from under them. So even if there was no value from our programs, the way that they are, which of course there was, the financial hole that they've dug for themselves is as much. I mean, the number of lives that we could have saved for that money is just, it's really painful to even think about.
And of course, all the CIA agents, where did they end up going?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen them.
I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself because, I mean, this is, this is the world that we live in, where we hear people talk about the nefarious parts of USAID as if there was something uniquely nefarious that, whereas I think there was arguably something, I'm sure there are some other agencies, but uniquely associated with saving people's lives around the country in a way that we have no other agency who was tasked so, I mean, just even in sheer dollars, with such a, with that as a primary function of their agency.
Right. I think that's right. Again, I believe that what we will have lost from USAID it won't be fully quantifiable for years to come, but when it finally is, I think that it's really going to be one of the key parts of the Trump administration's legacy in the most negative way possible.
Will you speak to, I mean, I've spoken to, after the first Trump administration, I spoke to people from like the DOJ and this and that about like their experience. I had people who had gone from the Clinton DOJ to the Bush DOJ to then to the Obama DOJ, and they spoke about like what it takes to rebuild these agencies. And every agency is different, of course, but there's a similar dynamic. You had people who were working at USAID who were there for 10 years. They were there for 20 years, 25 years, 5 years. There's a certain institutional memory. There's a certain sort of like know-how. And also there's a pipeline of people who suddenly make different career choices in college or in graduate programs because they're like, there's nothing there for me to go into in terms of like public health in this instance. Can you speak to that notion? Like what you anticipate it's going to take? Is it possible even to rebuild this? Like if it was to restart tomorrow, never mind in 2.5 years, what would it take? And we should also say that like, there's a limited amount of bandwidth for an administration, and destroying these things are much easier than they are rebuilding them. Yeah. And who knows what the priority will be for any administration going forward. Do you rebuild the IRS first? Do you rebuild the DOJ? Do you rebuild the FDA, the Labor Department? I mean, on and on and on. So just give us your sense of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that you mentioned that really has hit home for me is the recruitment, the pipeline of recruitment of young, smart, motivated people that the government over the last 50 years has tried to target those people to get them to commit to public service and go into the government, even though there might be financial incentives to do other things. I came into the government through the Presidential Management Fellow Program, which is one of those recruitment tools that they use. And it's one of them that they abolished back in January 2025 to just cut out that pipeline of ambitious, smart, and talented young people who might get in the government. That one I felt particularly painful. Look, I do think that USAID can and should be rebuilt. As you say, it's much more difficult to rebuild than it was for Doge to tear it apart. But I think that like we're going to find that we have no choice but to rebuild it. Replacing the expertise, I think, will actually not be the hardest part. There's a ton of extremely talented experts in the international development and global health field right now that would love to come back if they got the opportunity. I think the real challenge is the trust that we've broken with countries and governments overseas, where we all of a sudden, from having these decades-long partnerships that were built on the idea of American generosity and goodwill, and then an administration can come in and shred them with no warning and no even small period of transition to let these governments pick up the slack and help take care of their own people, just forcing people into a catastrophic situation. That rebuilding that trust is what's going to take decades, even though it only took weeks to tear down.
I mean, it would be, in the alternate world, if the United States felt like, okay, we have to close this, you would give these governments 6, 12 months to say, find funding somewhere else, see maybe Europe can pick it up so that there can be a seamless transition for these clinics that exist there or whatever it is. But frankly, and this cuts across all of our foreign relations. You'd have to be insane at this point to look at the United States based upon its actions over the past 10 years and say, this is we could count on this. You wouldn't do it as an individual. As an individual, if somebody treated you this way, you would be like, I'm out of here. Once bitten, twice shy. And this is bitten multiple times. What would you have done? You talk about getting into that fellowship program. What's the alternate route for someone with your sort of background and inclination? Maybe you go to NGOs, or maybe you end up in the corporate world. What are we losing in terms of the next generation?
Yeah, I'm actually a lawyer, so my options were to work for a firm, and I frankly gave up the opportunity to make quite a bit of money because I saw this as the way that I could make the most impact. So I think that that's true. Again, many of the people in the Global Health Bureau were medical doctors, which again, are giving up quite lucrative careers in private practice to commit themselves to public service and to be able to make sure that their work is not just affecting their individual patient, but on a mass scale was able to improve the lives of millions, to increase global life expectancy by nearly a decade over the course of a few years is just an impact that you could have there, that it was worth sacrificing potentially more lucrative careers. And so all those people need to go. Nobody did it for the paycheck, but that doesn't mean people don't have children that they need to feed.
Of course.
And so people now are going to have to go find other things and are finding other things. And it is sad that they're not committed to, that they're not able to pursue the public service that they had committed their careers to.
All right, one final question, and this is sort of from our own sort of myopic element, but I think it shows sort of the implications of it. So much of this, it seems to me, came from, and I think you mentioned this in the book briefly, Joe Rogan having Mike Benz, a former State Department official, on that spew all of these conspiracy theories about USAID, and Elon Musk probably sitting in the green room at the mothership or something like this in Austin, watching this and going this is top of the list. I got to get rid of the Bourne identity operating out of USAID.
Yep. I don't know Elon Musk at all. The only way that I can evaluate whether he's paying attention to something is whether he's tweeting about it. And before he heard Mike Benz on the Joe Rogan show, he had never once tweeted about USAID. And afterwards, it kind of became his public enemy number one with really weird late night stints of 40 or 50 tweets going off between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning. Some of these evenings just talking about how USAID is evil and we're a ball of worms and we're Marxist, like anti-American, it's just kind of like the full litany. And there's no way to like combat what's coming out of Elon Musk with his mouthpiece. But it did, at the time, it really scared staff. Like they weren't sure if it was safe to go into the office when he was doing that, or whether that was going to convince some crazy person who's listening to him to like go take care of those people. And yeah, I mean, even and so basically that's why we lost all this, is because Musk found this to be kind of his public enemy. And then when he started to get a little bit of pushback in his first attempt at utilizing Doge, when, for example, his Doge teams were not allowed to access secure facilities that they didn't have security clearance for, or when they tried to break into email systems that they weren't allowed to go into, he felt that this was like challenging whether he was going to be able to do what he wanted to with Doge. And that's when he sort of dug in his heels and kind of decided, look, I can destroy this because I say so. And, he was able to do it, unfortunately.
When do you make your appearance on the Joe Rogan show I'm obviously saying this, sarcastically, but it seems to me like this is a multi-million-dollar operation, $100 million that Spotify paid to have this guy on their network, essentially, and a huge corporate behemoth. And you'd think if it's about truth-telling or trying to get to the truth, that they might have somebody on who knows what they're talking about to, at the very least, have a debate or to just provide other information. But I assume that they have not invited you on.
So no, they have not invited me on. But I'll tell you this: I heard about that in real time because one of my Trump-supporting friends listened to that podcast and sent it to me, and he was like, "This is ridiculous, but it's at least worth a listen." And that was kind of the context that my Trump-supporting friend sent it to me. Is this guy seems like a conspiracy theory quack? And when I listened to it, that's exactly what I thought. And so, yeah, I would love to get the chance to speak to this. To speak about this with Joe Rogan or anybody else, but thank you for letting me come and speak about it on your platform, because I do think that it shouldn't be the voices of people who really have no idea what they're talking about that get amplified, and it should be people who do have the expertise and experience to just like say what the agency actually does. I wish they had known what the agency actually did.
Nicholas and Rich, I really appreciate the book you've written. It's really important because I think people need to understand what our government does and what has been done to our government and those functions. There's going to have to be a lot of rebuilding, and people are going to have to understand what has been destroyed and how, if that's going to happen. The book is Into the Wood Chipper, Whistleblower's Account of How the Trump Administration Shredded U.S. Aid. We'll put a link to that in our podcast and YouTube descriptions and at majority.fm. Thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for the conversation.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break and head to the fun half in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Just a reminder, it's your support that makes this show possible. You can become a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. When you do, not only get the free show free of commercials, but you also get the fun half, and you get to IM us on the fun half. And we'll clip this thing, but if you're on Twitch or any other platform for that matter, I think YouTube you can clip too in certain instances. Well, you certainly could figure it out. Send this to Joe Rogan, not the entire thing. I can't imagine he'll watch the entire thing, but just the last minute of that, so that maybe he'll have this guy on to balance out what he's done. Now it's too late to fix it. But down the road, Rogan seems, looking desperately to figure out how to reposition himself, maybe providing an ounce of reality to the absolute bat crap, destructive. I mean, look, I'm all for, I was in the fiction business for 15, 20 years before I did this. I'm all for fiction and fun stories. But when it literally costs the lives of tens of thousands of people, maybe millions down the road, never mind the sort of like knock-on implications for somebody who is, supposedly such a nationalist. I mean, just incredible. Let's see. Also, justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Use the coupon code majority at Just Coffee, folks. You get 10% off, and you can buy the Majority Report blend.
Yes. Matt, what's happening on Left Reckoning?
Yeah, Left Reckoning. There was a Sunday show, patreon.com/Left Reckoning. We'll have Emma Vigeland on Left Reckoning tomorrow at
Whoa, she's everywhere.
2:30 Eastern Time. Yeah.
I know. Well, I don't forget what we're talking about. We'll figure it out. Oh, the movie.
We'll probably talk about politics and stuff like that, but touch on You Were Never Really Here, movie with Joaquin Phoenix.
Like 15 years ago, yeah.
Wow. I wouldn't want my guest to
Are you mad at me about that?
The topic.
I mean, it's like probably 8.
8.
Half
Okay.
that.
No, I'm excited about it. I'm just saying that's why we're expanding our topics beyond that. Just that one
Probably
film.
can't go 45 minutes on a movie that came out in the first
Right.
Trump
I didn't
term.
mean, I didn't mean to be rude.
Wow, that is... Thanks for the invite for this stale topic that you have me talking about.
Just a light tease.
Speaking of
that
which,
movie's a little new for you, Sam.
what's that? No, I haven't caught. I'm 10 years before I catch up on that.
I'm sorry. I felt bad after that.
anything that was released after 2000, I've still got like 5 or 10 years before I get to. But also, I should say, I was on the Reaction podcast with Mike from PA. He's got a new podcast out there, and we were talking for like an hour and 10 minutes about Tim Pool. And I was going down memory lane of all the things. And I will also say, I think I actually showed on my phone a picture of the poker
fight
table
poster.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't show the fight poster. I should have. I gotta see if I definitely have a picture of that, right? I showed everybody.
You
that.
showed me a picture.
Yeah.
Of it,
Okay. But I did show a picture of the Poker with the Boys poker table. And we mocked like the folding chairs that were there, which was actually, I realized that afterwards, like that was odd. I wonder if he would like roll his comfortable chair in there. And it was a strategy.
Ooh.
You get everybody
I
else
think
on
you're
uncomfortable.
overestimating.
I know that would
Tim.
involve like pre-planning.
I think it's just that the poker table's probably not used that much, so they've got some folding chairs
Hey,
there.
yeah,
because
exactly. Guys, come on, let's play some poker. Sorry, Tim, I gotta get home. But
Probably not some marathon.
You know how West Virginia traffic is.
I bought a small briefcase from a sporting goods store in high school that had poker chips in it. Because me and my friends played poker like 2 times. I'm like, I'm going to be playing poker all the time. Like, rarely ever played.
Saul's
just had all
like
the
that
chips.
too. So check that out. Reaction podcast. You'll find it. I think I tweeted it out sometime in the past 24 hours. So see you in the fun half.
3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. And I don't think it's going to be the same as it looks like in 6 months from now. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to be better 6 months from now than it is 3 months from now. But I think around 18 months out, we're going to look back and go like, wow. What? What is that going on? It's nuts. Wait a second. Hold on for a second.
The Majority Report.
Emma, welcome to the program.
Hey.
Matt.
What is up, everyone?
Nomi Key.
You did it. Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
Bradley, you want to say hello?
Sorry to disappoint everyone. I'm just a random guy.
It's all the boys today.
Fundamentally false.
No, I'm sorry. Women's
Stop talking for a second and let me finish.
Where is this coming from, dude?
But dude, you want to smoke this 7-8?
Yes.
Hi, me? Is it?
Yes.
Is this me?
Is it me?
It is you.
Is
It's me. Hello, is this me?
I think it is you. Who is you? No sound. Every single freaking day. What's on your mind?
Sports. We can discuss free markets and we can discuss capitalism.
I'm gonna go throw up.
Libertarians.
They're so stupid, though.
Common sense says, of course.
Gobbledygook.
We fucking nailed him.
So what's 79 plus 21?
Challenge met.
I'm positively quivering.
I believe 96, I want to say.
857-210-35 501 1 half 3 8s
9/11, for instance.
$3,400, $1,900.
5 4 $3 trillion sold. It's a zero-sum game.
Actually, you're making me think less of it.
But let me say this. Poop.
You can call it satire. Sam goes, it's satire.
On top of it all,
Yeah.
my favorite part about you is just like every day, all day, like
Yeah.
everything you do.
Without a doubt. Hey, buddy, we see you. All right, folks.
It's just the week being weeded out, obviously.
Yeah, sun's out, guns out. I don't know.
But you should know.
People just don't like to entertain ideas anymore.
I have a question. Who cares?
Our chat is enabled, folks.
I love it.
I do love that.
Look, gotta jump. Gotta be quick. I gotta jump.
I'm losing it, bro.
2 o'clock. We're already late, and the guy's being a dick. So screw him. Sent to a gulag?
Outrageous.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Love you, bye.
Love you. Bye-bye. We are back. Sam Seder, Fun Half, Emma Vigeland, Majority Report. I am Madman Theorist. Former fake Venezuelan President Juan Guaido is one of the largest single recipients of USAID support in recent years. The Colombian narco cartel, La Rostras, assisted USAID's aid stunt on the Venezuelan border in 2019. Yes, my understanding is that I don't think it went to him individually, but his sort of like outside or with government in exile when he was under the Trump administration received something like $60 million, a bunch of which was basically stolen from other not stolen, reassigned from Central American aid. That is my understanding from what I have read.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's like a conspiracy theory to say that USAID is likely collaborating
regularly. I mean, it just has been. Like the Bin Laden raid that was found using USAID as cover for the vaccine program that was used for it. And it goes back years. But that's mainly a CIA problem. The CIA goes through all parts of our government.
Exactly.
Oh, my God, yes.
The point is
that... but it is a problem that the CIA has made the actual, like, made it salient that it's used for imperial designs in other countries.
It just makes sense that the CIA is going to integrate its operations with other parts of the government that are operating, especially on the foreign services level. And like to Matt's point, it's more about the CIA than it is about the use of soft power, which like I'm not expecting America to operate in a way that doesn't further its own interests, and it's just a question of how they do so. And USAID as soft power is one of the less objectionable ways that U.S. empire maintains itself.
Like Matt has said, I mean, it was set up to project U.S. power, soft power. And like Matt has said, for every dollar you cut, I got to buy a bunch more bullets.
Well, that's the funny thing about this debate now is last year when this was happening, Trump was still the peace president. And now we've seen the actual world that's following this. It's like, yeah,
Right.
why we're going to do any sort of pretense towards soft power? We're just going to kidnap and bomb people.
Yeah.
Madman Theorist. U.S. Food for Peace is a conduit for corporate welfare to big agro and shipping giants. It dumps subsidized U.S. grain on developing countries, destroying local farms and triggering migration waves to the north. without a doubt, particularly in the shipping thing. You got I would say probably 5% of USAID's budget was on that program, and there was controversy around the shipping things. There was controversy around dumping these subsidies for these, which function, like you say, as subsidies for U.S. ag. Here's an idea: cut that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing.
Like Medicare has 4% fraud. The Medicare Advantage, highly problematic. Am I going to get rid of Medicare? No. Like, nobody's advocating for show me an agency that doesn't have a problem in the U.S. government. If you want to see where, where the bigger problems are, go to just our whole ag policy in the first place. Go to our subsidizing of oil entities. You want to look for slush funds? I know a place you can go, and it's the Defense Department. Like, where are we putting our energies? And the idea that you take out USAID and you're going to fundamentally, in any way, inhibit what you're talking about is absurd. It's not. This is not coming out of, Nicholas Heinrich isn't sitting there going like, how are we going to subsidize big agro? It's the corporate influences on our government. Look around and figure out which agency is going to do it. And if that agency doesn't exist, they don't go like, oh, well, I guess we're done. That's gone. They just find a different conduit to do it. To deal with the stuff that you're talking about involves a wholesale change in our government that doesn't listen to corporate interests. You think the CIA, they're just like, okay, we'll just find other programs. I mean, the CIA is now rolling up going we're in a crisis now because we no longer have USAID. It's just give somebody else an excuse to have a meeting.
I mean, who was the guy that was on Joe Rogan? You said the USAID.
Mike Benz.
Mike Benz. He's like a free market, think tank guy now.
Of course. Of course. Okay. Let's get into what else do we got here? Yes. We've talked about this in the past. And in fact, I voiced an ad, as full disclosure, for demand justice. Just because my buddy, former producer emeritus, no, he's not former, he's a producer emeritus of the Majority Report, Josh Horton, is now the executive director of that. And they were trying to get U.S. senators to ask a very simple question on the record. Sometimes they would ask in writing, but now they started to do it in the hearings. Simple questions of judges, people who are going to sit on the judiciary for a lifetime appointment.
Like, you want the people sitting on the judiciary with a lifetime appointment to be able to acknowledge, say, the sky is blue and grass is green. Because
it's important to know that they're impartial. Because what if you had a president who said, look, we're imposing the sky is green mandate. From now on, we're going to refer to the sky is green. And you want judges to be able to go, well, actually, it's blue.
Right.
And here is Senator Blumenthal asking question of lifetime appointments to the judiciary. The simple question, who won the 2020 election? Now, you may have heard in the background, and we played a shorter clip of this, but it's important to play the entire thing. You can hear Grassley in the background after they all answer, what's the problem with answering who won the election? Because apparently when you're 99 years old or whatever Grassley is, you don't pay attention to, what's been going on with some of the judicial nominees.
Who won the 2020 election?
I'd say that
that President Biden was certified the winner of the 2020 election.
He won the election. Is that your response?
Senator, I think my response is he was certified as the winner by counting the electoral.
So you're unwilling to say he won the election. How about you, Mr. Roberts?
I have the same answer as my colleague, Senator.
Same answer as the previous one?
The previous nominee. The Senate did.
Mr. Coons, how about you?
Thank you, Senator. And I have the same answer as Mr.
Same answer. Unwilling to say that Joe Biden won the election, correct?
As Mr. Hendershot said, it has become a matter of political concern, and Joe Biden.
Well, it's a matter of political concern, but it's also an issue of fact. Is it not?
Joe Biden was, in fact, certified the winner of the 2020 election.
Mr. Mark?
Same answer, Senator.
I am.
Go back a little bit. You can
amazed.
hear Grassley is, of course, because he can't hear. So he's screaming at his aide, who's probably like sitting like 6 inches away from. What would be wrong with them saying that they won the election?
Right, like hot mic may not be exactly right. The mic barely had to be on to pick up Grassley.
I think it's actually being picked up on Blumenthal's mic.
Right.
Same answer, Senator.
I am amazed and really appalled that nominees for a lifetime appointment to the federal bench are unwilling to respond on an issue of fact. And I'm not going to try to get an answer out of you because clearly you've been rehearsed to provide a stock answer, which I think really reflects not only on your honesty, but really on your fitness to be a federal judge, because you are supposed to be independent and to arrive at the truth based on the evidence before you. And I think it's pretty irrefutable that Joe Biden won the election, but you're unwilling to use that word because you are afraid.
100% true. And you know what I would like Blumenthal to have asked that? How do you know the Senate certified the election? How do you know that? Were you there? Or did you see a news report about it? Did you see a news report about it? Why do you believe that news report and not the news report about Joe Biden winning the election? What's the difference? I mean, question them about every fact.
Right.
Was Donald Trump found liable in a court of law in a civil proceeding for rape? Let's see if they answer that question. I mean, let's get to where the issue is. What is the dispute about whether Joe Biden won the election? Walk us through that as a question of fact. As a question of fact, why isn't that a fact?
And they'll probably just repeat the same rote answer that they clearly, the three of them, memorized together. But this is actually flying in the face of what these hearings are supposed to extract, which is the notion that there's a semblance of judicial independence. Like, this is obviously
it
not.
Extracted it.
Well, I mean, yes. Well,
it extracted its absence.
They figured it out, but it is like, it just shows how silly these hearings have become, and how the Democrats kind of ceding territory on this for this long of a period of time and not seeing this as an instrument of power that the Republicans were going to tilt in their favor regardless of the norms shows how silly this is, because this is what these hearings historically were designed to uncover. Are you an independent? Are you going to make these?
Even occurred to them to ask before, but it's good that they're asking now.
But like, they're literally not. Even if you were to take Trump out of it, and they were to have had that rote answer over and over again, copy pasted from each other, that doesn't demonstrate independence. No. They're not acting like judges that are looking at the facts and making an assessment. They are doing PR talking points, which is the exact opposite of what the judiciary is supposed to be. But But, like there was that piece that we read some months ago, we had a guest on about it, just about times of like anti-democracy in this country when the judiciary asserts itself over the legislative branch and how they have more power. And we're seeing it right now. It was under with Dred Scott. It was why FDR had to threaten the Supreme Court and threaten to pack it. And we're seeing it here, where the courts are out of control in dictating policy. And we have a Congress that is rendered completely impotent.
This should lay a predicate for what Democrats need to do when they get into power. Here's Chris Coons, not my favorite Democrat.
Oh, God.
But on the Judiciary Committee, asking, again, like, to test, how deep into the cult of Donald Trump are you, is the subtext of this question.
Mr. Mark, is President Trump eligible to run for president again in 2028?
Senator, without considering all the facts and looking at everything, depending on what the situation is, this to me strikes as more of a hypothetical.
Pause it for a second.
It's not a hypothetical.
Pause it for a second. Let's consider the facts for a minute. I know I'm not an attorney. I only had 1 year of law school. You are not an attorney.
Nope.
We both have a lot of relatives who are.
Yes.
Maybe we can take the fact. Brian, you're not an attorney at all.
I've hired
right?
a few in my life.
Yes,
I've also been assigned some.
Yeah. Let's see if amongst us, and Matt, you can join in on this too, despite your complete.
I do have
lack
a master's degree in media studies. So.
There we go. I'm nearly a lawyer.
What would be the relevant facts here in this scenario? There's a constitution. There's a constitutional amendment that came in the wake of FDR serving 3 terms that said president can only serve 2 terms. So far, we're still in the factual territory. Donald Trump has served 1.5 terms. So hypothetically, we're talking he finishes his term and then runs again. Now, if he gets impeached, there are other statutes that say that he can't run. But I will accept as an answer.
Okay.
It's contingent upon whether he gets impeached.
Is that what the Constitution says, though? Because it says you can only be elected to 2 terms, I would imagine.
That's a good question.
Yes.
See this? There you go.
Right.
That's why you should have gone to law school.
Well, I'm
doing
this instead.
Maybe that's what's all so complicated for this judicial nominee lifetime appointment to answer. Let's give him...
Senator, without considering all the facts and looking at everything, depending on what the situation is, this to me strikes as more of a hypothetical of something that could be.
It's not a hypothetical. Has President Trump been elected president twice?
President Trump has been certified the president of the United States 2 times.
Is he eligible to run
Pause
for
it.
third
The reason,
term
just keep it
under our
up.
Constitution?
The reason why they say certified is because they no longer will talk about who won an election, because they cannot admit that Joe Biden won the 2020 election. Otherwise, Trump will pull their nomination.
Right. So they're trying to create consistency across answers.
Yes.
I would have to review the
All I need to tell you
wording of
is
it.
the language of the constitutional amendment that makes it clear that no, he is not eligible to run for a 3rd term. Anybody else brave enough to say that the Constitution of the United States prevents President Trump from seeking a 3rd term? Anybody willing to apply the Constitution by its plain language in the 22nd Amendment?
Bueller.
Nobody. All right, let's move on.
No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once.
So
That's
in other words,
interesting.
like it's a full game if you've served 2 years.
Right.
I wonder what you say if they'd ask, like, can Obama run for a term in 2028 if they try to keep it consistent like that?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like, this is a good first step for these Democrats on the Judicial Committee, but I think we can tease this out a little bit more. You can say, did Donald Trump win the presidency in 2024? He was certified. So there is a chance he lost the election. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Just go full blue and on.
Has anyone ever won an election in this country?
Yeah.
Anybody? It's shocking. Dave from Jamaica. I am friends with Reagan, so I am a lawyer by proxy. Chris Lam. Mr. Seder, which team won the NBA game on Saturday? Listen, I don't... Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
The 76ers were certified.
76ers
second round
were awarded,
appointees.
moved forward. But honestly, here's the thing. I want to have more time to read. And
yeah,
the
sports
idea
are unhealthy, and
of
sports is junk food for the brain anyway.
I haven't caught up on the articles written about what happened on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm interested in the actual arts. You jocks can watch sports and stuff like that, but I want to go and be cultured.
I don't want to watch people live life. I want to live life myself.
Exactly.
Wow.
Thank you.
Right.
I would much rather get out there and shoot some hoops than watch it on TV.
You want to park yourself in front of a TV screen? Yeah. I'm going to educate myself and be out in the world.
Here's the thing. When you get older, you start to appreciate that this isn't going to last forever. And I'm not going to sit idly by in front of some type of boob tube.
I just want to watch the Celtics win it for an 18th time. I've already seen it 17 times.
Exactly. What do I got to do? I mean, come on.
That's the thing is you kind of put yourself in a bad situation when you shit talk like that for so long, and you jinx yourself, and that's why
I don't really
some people
what you're
don't
talking
engage in that, and the slow and steady person wins the race.
Oh, so you're claiming that you're going to win the race?
I just realized that I said the W word, and I'm such a fucking idiot.
It's guaranteed a Cleveland Cavaliers championship.
I just said it on game day too, which is the no. You're not.
Oh, boy.
I mean, and by you, I mean this is my.
This is your own voodoo manual reading.
Yep. I'm revealing too much.
You're not supposed to do it, says the voice in my head.
Stupid bitch.
Oh boy.
Well, it looks like I'm putting a little cash on the Sixers tonight.
I'll
take up game 2 though.
Everyone shut up.
So the latest is from the AP is the UAE says that Iran has resumed attacks as the U.S. is attempting to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. It is unclear. Trump announced a Project Freedom, and then the administration walked it back. In the meantime, in the hours before Trump announced Project Freedom, somebody placed a $720 million bet on shorts, on oil shorts. And as soon as he announced Project Freedom, price of oil drops. Great time if you've actually placed some shorts on the price of oil to buy oil to resell at a higher amount. And then Trump's administration walks it back. I mean, this whole thing could just be like... And Exxon and Chevron, I think it is, announced that they would not be increasing production because why would they? It cost them, I'm going to make up numbers just to show you the dynamic. They sell oil at $50 a barrel. It costs them $20 to extract it, $10 to ship it, $10 to refine it. I'm just making up those numbers. And they sell it for $50 and they make $10. I'm sure the numbers are higher, the margins, but this is just to help me with the math. And then the price of oil shoots up to $100 a barrel. And it costs them $20 to extract it, $10 to ship it, maybe $15 now because it's going all around the world, and $10 to refine it. And then all of a sudden, they're not making $5-10 a barrel. They're making $60 a barrel. And then the price of oil goes up even higher. And they're like, oh, you know those, the drilling that we stopped because it was too expensive? Because instead of $20 to extract it, it cost us $40? Well, now that the price of oil is at $115, we can spend $40 on the price of oil. And we can just go to full refining capacity. Once they hit refining capacity, they're done and they have no excuse. They're like, we can't do it. But we can't help it that our oil is being bid up to $160 dollars a barrel, or some people are saying maybe $200 a barrel in the future. We'll see. But this is the dynamic. Meanwhile, it turns out that the Secretary of Defense, nay War, or Secretary of War, nay Defense, I don't know how he goes.
War.
Has been lying to the country as to what Iran was able to do in the early days of this war when we struck them.
No.
I know this is going to come as a shock, but the $50 billion or so that we have spent at this point, whatever, I don't know, the official record is probably close to $30 billion at this point, very likely is a severe undercount if we ever intend to rebuild our bases, which of course they do. Here is this report from CNN.
Allies in the region, there's a dilemma. In some ways, Iran's show of force makes the U.S.'s presence in the region even more necessary to Gulf security. But there's a new reality here, which is that U.S. military installations, previously seen as formidable fortresses, have turned into sitting targets. As a Saudi source told me, the war has shown Saudi Arabia, that's the U.S.'s longest-standing Arab ally, that the alliance with the U.S. cannot be exclusive, and it is not, in their words, impregnable. To get a sense of just how vulnerable U.S. facilities have become, have a look at this. It's the war room at Qatar's El Udeid Air Base, the theater command and control hub for U.S. air power across 21 nations. Struck not just once, but twice. And according to a U.S. source, causing significant damage. The base had been largely evacuated at this point, and no casualties were reported. Iran's visibility over its targets has never been clearer. In 2024, according to the Financial Times, Tehran secretly acquired a Chinese satellite known as the TEE-01B, a massive upgrade from its own satellites. That means that Tehran went from looking at images of this quality to this. This is the first time America has fought an adversary with satellites that capture high-res imagery almost as detailed as its own. As the scale of the damage comes into focus, many will wonder whether America's presence, once a protective shield in the Middle East, has turned into its Achilles heel. Tamara Khablawi, CNN, London.
All right, responding to CNN's findings, a Pentagon official said the Defense Department does not discuss damage assessments, but U.S. forces remain fully operational with the same readiness and combat effectiveness. CNN also understands from its sources that the vast majority of U.S. troops evacuated their positions in the Middle East, with many working from the relative safety of hotels and apartments in the Arabian Peninsula.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Military hotels? Brian, you were in the military, right?
Yes, I was.
What are these military hotels?
Are they saying barracks? Or are they saying...
Or the Hilton Human Shield?
Yeah, I haven't...
Or are they saying they are hiding amongst the civilian population?
That sounds familiar to me.
Well, good thing there's nothing in recent precedent that would make those be unsafe places for people to...
You know what also sounds familiar to me is the downplaying of damage from Iranian strikes.
A lot of this sounds familiar.
It's almost like the Israelification of U.S. kind of foreign policy, although it's really just, according to many, books and also just analysis of this, the Palestine Laboratory amongst it by Anthony Lowenstein. No, we test weapons technology and precedent within Gaza with Israel. And it's not just weapons technology now. It's literally like, what can we get away with? Israel does that for us. And so now we're just double tapping girls' schools and saying, whoopsie. But, I mean... they've lied about a few different things. Crystal Ball came on and speculated, and I think with a lot of good evidence and reason behind it, that the airman that was resurrected on Easter,
yeah, Jesus Christ,
exactly right, was not there for what the
they
Pentagon
were trying
was
the
saying.
uranium recovery stuff that was foolhardy from the beginning, and it went
Right.
poorly, and then they had to cover their ass.
Yes, and then they also trickled out the deaths on the bases that were initially reported that they denied, and then they were like, okay, actually these people died. And now, they're claiming that...
I saw Pat Ryan question Hegseth
Right.
about one of those bases where there was absolutely no defenses, and six servicemen died.
And they're now claiming, that Iran didn't strike this ship, which Iran is claiming that they did. And I saw that the British have confirmed it as well. So they're just trying to cover up the fact that Iran is continuously humiliating the United States. And Trump keeps looking for, I saw Trita Parsi describe it in his book, or in his article about how Trump keeps looking for this silver bullet that's going to bring the Iranians to heel, and it just has not happened yet. And once again, the administration's like closure of the Strait of Hormuz, it's benefiting Iran because they are trying to. It's still, even if Iran is temporarily taking a hit and they can't export all the oil that they want, it still is limiting global supply, which is what Iran wants to do to make the West feel pain so this doesn't happen again. So it's just lies on top of lies about this stuff. But the more morale gets worse, we're going to see more of these leaks about how they're lying to the press about what the damage looks like.
Speaking of the implications of the Iran war, people can see it every day at the gasoline pumps. We're going to see it in the near future when we get to food prices, although I think food prices are already starting to jump because of this. We're starting to see increased inflation. But here is the latest. And you'll recall, just to refresh people's memory, a Reagan judge, case brought by the DOJ, back during the Biden administration, prevented JetBlue from merging with Spirit Airlines. JetBlue would have taken on a tremendous amount of debt in purchasing Spirit and subsuming them into their company. Just with that backdrop, you'll understand why Scott Bessant is now blaming the Biden administration for the utter collapse of Spirit Airlines, leaving people still stranded today at the airports, looking around with nothing to do. Spirit was horribly run. With that said, the increase in jet fuel gave them no margin, and they just collapsed.
And Secretary, let me get your take on what took place in terms of Spirit Airlines, because I know that the Democrats did not want Spirit to merge with JetBlue a year ago, and now we see that Spirit Airlines closed operations. The Treasury was supposed to be doing a deal to save this company. Can you tell us what happened?
Sure, Maria. So this is just more of the mess we inherited from the Biden administration. In September 2022, Elizabeth Warren, who loves to write letters, sent a letter to the Justice Department, to the Transport Department, saying that they should oppose the merger with Spirit Airlines. JetBlue wanted to buy them for $3.8 billion. It would have given them much more resiliency. And she and the Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, was probably the worst transportation secretary in history when he came to the office. They were against the merger. And if JetBlue had merged with Spirit, we would have all these jobs that were lost yesterday. We had 30 regional airports who have lost service. And you know, I can tell you what happened here. It wasn't Treasury, it was Commerce that was trying to put something together. But the reason we were here was because the Biden administration opposed the merger. We shouldn't have been here in the first place.
Well, Elizabeth,
Yeah, she knows it's bull. Because I'll tell you, they were going to buy it for supposedly $3 billion. Right now, JetBlue has $9 billion in debt.
Yes.
They are projected to have lost $1 billion this year. JetBlue might go out of business without having taken on an extra almost $4 billion in debt. I don't know what it costs to service $4 billion in debt, but it would have taken out the margin of error for JetBlue and Spirit.
Yes.
So right now we have
It just
one
would have
airline
taken
down.
JetBlue down with it.
Yes, exactly.
Right? And JetBlue may still go out of business because of this. No matter what, they haven't. Their profit margins have been bad for years. That was part of why they wanted to get bigger, to acquire Spirit Airlines. That this is how these companies work. They want to become too big to fail in that way.
And let's be clear, we need to go back to regulated airlines.
Yes.
Even at the time when they deregulated it, and we've had I can't remember the author we had on to talk about this, or a writer. We had multiple people on, I think, over the years. Even at the time where they were getting testimony from the airlines themselves were testifying, do not deregulate us. And there was some semblance that this was going to help democratize airlines. But in fact, what it did is it just ended up cutting down on the routes. They just divvied it up almost like the mafia. This is our route, this is your route. And a lot of places got underserved. And air service got much worse, and prices went through the roof, and airlines became destabilized.
Ganesh
Sidaraman?
Sidaraman.
Yeah.
That was a guest on.
What and the date on that, please, Brian?
That is March 4th, 2024.
That is correct. It was, in fact, 2 years to the day, which is why we brought it up today.
Right. Well, today's May 4th.
Correct. 2 years and 2 months to the day. That's absolutely correct. We brought it up on the anniversary of a month starts with an M.
It is ironic that two things we talk about
Nothing to say.
deregulating, like guns and airplanes, those industries didn't exist until a giant war caused a bunch of state investment to basically create them. Like air travel didn't exist before World War II.
Right. Right.
Let's do one more check-in on the economy. Since Donald Trump is now in the worst approval rating of his second term, and you have 2/3 of Americans thinking the country is going in the wrong direction. Here's a little graph of what's going on with the farm bankruptcies. Approximately 75%, with all due respect to our good friend Kowalski from Nebraska, 75% of farmers, is my understanding, voted for Donald Trump. If you look at the farm bankruptcies over the past 8 years, farm bankruptcies under Donald Trump were more or less at least 2 times higher than under Joe Biden.
I mean, look at that chart.
And the economy was crushing then. That's crazy.
It really underlines it how the blue is under Democrats, but you don't even need that to illustrate how obvious this is, that under Republican administrations they go after farmers.
And they go after farmers because really what they're doing is they're subsidizing big corporations.
Yes, they are okay with these closures for small farms if they can get bought up by big ag.
Yep.
So that's where, when they talk, people are losing faith in Republicans on the economy, but this is in part why, is because they speed run consolidation because they're so bought by big ag. Tell that to Bobby Kennedy, by the way.
And incidentally, this is not to say that Democrats have pursued particularly good policies in terms of agriculture in this country. It just means that the speed in which they help subsidize the consolidation, that role
Put
was
us back up,
slowed
right?
in many respects. But here's Donald Trump cutting an ad for Democrats in the 2028 elections. I would imagine if you are running for Congress and you are running against a Republican, and you are not saying, do you agree or disagree with your president in this instance, I feel like you have failed. This is a clip of Donald Trump in the, what is it called, Brian?
The Villages.
The Villages in Florida. Yes.
And the Democrats start screaming, affordability, affordability. They're the ones that caused the problem.
Sorry, what's that voice he's doing?
Affordability.
That's his
It's all
impression of
the
a Democrat.
British. It's all the
It's like if I was a rich man. la,
Right.
la, la.
Right.
affordability.
And the Democrats start screaming, affordability, affordability. They're the ones that caused the problem. I'll tell you one thing. They got one good line of bullshit. That's one thing I'll say about it. They are so bad. They are so bad.
All of those people can't afford to fill up their F-150 or their Chevy Tahoe or
I think you mean golf cart.
well, but don't they all? I would imagine they own two things: a golf cart
they certainly do.
and a massive SUV.
Yes.
Right, like a Yukon or like a Pathfinder. Not a
Lots
Pathfinder.
of bumper sticker space.
Yes, I mean just something like where you can fit like 4 people in there and they could live in the truck, and they're maybe putting like 2 bags of groceries in the back of it. It's just inexplicable why they have a truck that big.
Well, they've got locked in probably to some sort of mortgage that's at the lowest level possible, and their home has appreciated potentially over the past, I don't know, decade or plus to something that is wildly overvalued. And that's the exact constituency that Trump still drives up numbers with, the people that this economy is still working for because they already own at least one property. And they may feel it at the pump, but they're not going to feel it the way other people do who are renting.
That's true.
Like
they're going to feel it. They're going to feel it, but they're going to be paying all of a sudden like $85, $90 to fill up their truck, and they're going to be like, "What? Joe Biden really screwed us." Yeah. But no, they're going to say that's okay because Trump said bullshit, and I love a president.
I got a
who's
thrill
gonna
out
say-
of that.
He tells it like it is.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you one thing. They got one good line of bullshit. That's one thing I'll say about it. They are so bad. They are so bad. It's true. Affordability.
Affordability. You like that? Affordability.
sing-songy.
He's gonna
The
keep
first
doing
time I heard the word, I'm 2 days in, and I watch this sleazebag, one of these crazy congressmen, get up, and he's being interviewed. He said, affordability, prices are too high. I've just got there. But we brought prices way down. They gave us tremendously high prices, and they'll give them to you again. They take over.
Is this like, Brian,
Yes.
is this not like watching a road comic? Like if you were touring with him, you'd realize like, okay, he's not going to bring back the affordability again after he talks about the guy. He's gonna punch it, but he's gonna keep trying to punch it. Like, I love the laughs I got on affordability and the bullshit. He will say bullshit he will do that exact line for every one of his speeches until that doesn't get a laugh again.
But the problem is everywhere else it won't work as well because he's in a gated community
Exactly.
where affordability is not an issue just by nature of you living there. So
Yes.
when he
I would
goes to
love-
Tennessee, it's going to be a lot harder.
I would love to see those guys sitting behind him, all in the baseball caps in Tennessee, and he goes, affordability.
Affordability.
I mean, I don't know if we have it on the sound sheet, but there's like Todd Blanche, who he's now very happy with because he's going after James Comey for the seashell post.
Don't say the words 8647.
We're gonna get demonetized.
He said on TV this weekend, in supporting voter ID laws for voting, you need to show your ID when you walk into any restaurant. Like, and it's just, these guys they are Lucille Bluth. They don't know what a banana costs. They don't know what a gallon of milk costs. He has no idea. And it's so easy if they want to hit him on that front. But he's trying to
Surely he must be going into restaurants.
Yeah, but I mean,
But at their
But Trump
restaurants,
said that before.
they bypass.
Trump said that before about the grocery store, saying that you need to show your ID when you go into the grocery store. No, you don't.
Affordability.
Yeah, right.
Maybe in 1950 when his mom was writing checks.
It's only when you write checks.
Yeah.
You need to show
Okay,
your
so that's the last
Yes.
experience
Yeah.
he's had in the grocery store. Right.
I remember going with my grandma to a bank. She would drive through the drive-thru, and just driving with her was just terrifying. And she drove up, and she came up and she said, "I'm a depositor." Like, Grandma, but
Oh no.
what do you think is going to happen now? oh, I didn't realize you were a depositor. Well,
Here's your champagne.
here's your toaster, and thank you so much.
Monogrammed towels for you.
Grandma, just get the $20 you want to take out. Like, what do you? Amazing.
Imagine being so old that you still remember a corporation giving a shit about you at all.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
think that you could get any kind of nice.
We have a depositor here at the drive-in desk. Who's Kelsey Plum?
She is a WNBA player. She's a very good WNBA
very good.
player.
Sort of like, good point guard, right?
I mean, she has a good point guard. She has a reputation for being a little annoying, so I feel like it's okay to make fun of her for this insane take.
I'm not, I'm all in favor of athletes, and look, I can understand why athletes. Sometimes they don't know. They just they're ignorant about finances, et cetera, et cetera.
Often,
Certainly, people assume that if you're a star in the WNBA and you're making $1 million, then you have a whole ocean of advisors. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if her cousin's, her accountant, and that's it. And that's the advice that she gets. What was impressive about this was also listening to right-wingers' response to it. So I want you to keep the thread on where it was. But longtime listeners of the program will know how incredibly agitating this is. Kelsey Plum explains why she signed for $999,999. I don't know what state she lives in. I don't know what she's talking about here.
It's California.
California. Oh, yeah. Because they're going to pass a millionaire tax.
Yeah.
Where it's going to raise 13%. And here she goes.
Oh, God.
Also wanted to ask you about your historic contract because you left $1 on the board. But was there a significance behind that? Like, was it purposeful? Because I feel like you're very intentional with everything you do.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, taxes.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you claim like $1 million, so I say like 13,000.
Oh, wow.
And not claiming
Okay.
a dollar. A lot of people. It's funny. Everywhere I go now, people are like, "Hey, can I give you $1?" But it's funny because it's like, no, I think it's great.
Yeah.
At least they're tuned in, you know.
Yeah.
But that was one, and the other thing was just like, I just didn't want validation for signing for $1 million.
Okay, I get the validation for $1 million. I don't know what that's about.
It's about the veteran minimum because there's a new contract that was negotiated in the WNBA that finally pays them something that approaches their value.
Can we first say that it's nice that women's sports has gotten to a point where they don't have to pay attention in college either?
Yeah.
That's good.
Equality.
And aside from the fact that undoubtedly she has an agent and she has other things, so her income is not going to be $999,000, I presume. But put that aside.
Or maybe it's not the minimum. Maybe. Sorry. I'm going to look it up. Keep going.
But the idea of taxes is absolutely one of the dumbest things that she could say. Now, with that said, a lot of people don't understand this. The political pundits at Patrick Bet-David's show didn't understand this. I don't think Joe Rogan understands this. I would imagine a lot of people don't understand this. If the top taxable marginal rate is for $1 million and over, and it's 13% added for millionaires, you don't pay 13. If you make $1 million, you don't pay $13,000. Well, let's say you make $1,001 actually. You don't pay $13,000 in tax. You pay 13 extra cents.
Yes.
You only get taxed on every dollar after $1 million. So if you make $1,000,001, you get taxed not 13,000 extra dollars, but 13 cents extra. If you make $1,002,002, you get taxed 26 cents. If you make $2 million, you get taxed an extra 13,000 because of that second $1 million.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
So you will instead not make $1 million tax-free. You will pay an extra $13,000, bringing how much you take in. Now, presumably, you will be paying taxes at different tiers throughout. But you will be paying an extra $13,000, which will bring you down to, let's see if I can do this math, $1,987,000. Now, of course, you'll be taxed at I would imagine, a higher rate on your money up to that point. It could be, I don't know, 32%. I don't know what the highest tax rate is, somewhere around there. But people need to understand what marginal tax rate taxation means. Now, she's a basketball player. It's not like she has been doing political commentary for 20 years. Go up in this, where that link. Go back on that post.
And while you do that, I just want to correct myself that the maximum contract's now 1.4 million.
You got to find the link I put into.
And it's probably 130K you meant, right? Not 13K, because that would be 1.3%.
13%. Oh yes, 130K on the second one. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I have one like this.
Yes. Okay. So James Surowiecki, who is I think he's actually, I don't know if he's just a writer on the economy or an economist. It doesn't matter. He writes, I don't believe this. Kelsey Plum thinks that if she earned $1 more, she would have to pay an extra $13,000 in income tax. That is not how marginal tax rates work. And then Eric Erickson says, one of the side benefits of this health site is you get to see people who think of themselves as experts reveal they don't really know what they're talking about, but presume themselves smarter than the legion of accountants and lawyers who help athletes navigate their finances.
Famously, yeah.
Whoops.
And he's that is called projection. That's called projection.
I've seen this exact same thing happen in the past few weeks of a streamer that I follow making this exact same mistake, and then the chat being like, "You're wrong," and they'd be like, "Don't you think I know how my finances work?" And no,
you
don't.
Athletes are not notoriously famous for making bad financial decisions.
For having the best accountants.
Because of those legion of accountants and lawyers.
It really does go to show that gender is just a construct.
Just Google Antoine Walker. See how the legion of accountants and lawyers helped him out.
Oh gosh, there's some really sad stories about that, but we don't need to be Debbie Downers today.
We don't have that Tim Miller clip.
We do 11.
Oh, we do?
We should do that. Yeah, 11 and 12.
I do want to do that, but let's first do this because look, a lot of people work in this space. We have a collegial relationship with all of them, as you know.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I went and tried to fix Tim Pool's toilet, and I broke it. I mean, people make mistakes.
Right, and then suddenly his property values just completely plummeted. So
fell through the roof.
Nuclear bomb.
And so it brings me no pleasure to mention that the Daily Wire, apparently it's being reported, has laid off 50% of its, just cut half of the company.
No.
half of the company, half of the people working there were laid off at Daily Wire. There's a lot of reasons for this, I'm sure. You'll recall Daily Wire tried to do a cartoon.
Yes, people should check out Jose, his video essay on the Daily Wire and their forays into children's entertainment. Because
Bent Key, it was a whole channel for children's programming.
to combat Miss Rachel and other scary, pro-Hamas factions that are trying to indoctrinate your children. But it was a big failure because Boring and the rest of the Daily Wire team anticipated that they could ride What is a Woman's Success into other areas that would expand into, like, say, family programming to unwoke your children. But it turns out the people that signed up for What is a Woman kind of just signed up for that whole very narrow transphobia thing that had the contours of a documentary while being a propaganda outfit, and that children just want to watch, like, children's programming that maybe they've heard about from their friends or other parents too, like
kids love to watch something that none of their friends watch.
Right.
The big issue, and this guy talked about it, was, well, first off, we should just say, in a general way, remember they had that movie Ballers or something
Lady
like that?
Ballers.
Lady Ballers, or whatever it was. You have to understand that Ben Shapiro desperately wanted to be a comedy writer. Desperately. And I will tell you, like, the biggest track you can follow to be a comedy writer in Hollywood is to do what, Brian? Is to go to what university?
Harvard.
That is right. The number of offices I would walk in when I was an actor doing sitcoms, and I would walk into a room and they would go, "Where are you from?" And I go, "Well, I've been living in Boston for the past, like, in Cambridge." And they're like, "Oh, I lived in Cambridge for a while." Yeah. And they would never say, "I went to Harvard."
Dude, I got that on the subway this fucking weekend. I was wearing a Red Sox hat. A guy goes, "I lived in Cambridge."
I lived in
while.
Cambridge.
No, it's a bit in 30 Rock where he's no, not Tufts, right? So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, but he could never break in. I don't think he made $1 from Hollywood. And, like,
he wasn't on the Lampoon?
I don't think he was. I don't think he ever made. Maybe he did. Maybe he was. I don't know.
There's no chance.
Probably not. And
this premise makes absolutely no sense.
and it was because of the wokeness. I mean, that's why he was at Breitbart. Everybody who started off at Breitbart, particularly back in the day, they resented Hollywood because they were considered unfunny, untalented people, and they desperately wanted to be in show business. And so Shapiro, when they started to make some money, and they had a ton of money poured in, we will discuss that in a moment, they're like, "Oh, now's our chance to finally get to Hollywood." So they made a movie, and they all starred in it, like almost like a dentist would do this. Like, "Hey, I'm willing to finance the movie, but my girlfriend, she's an actress. Did you know that? She's very talented."
They put Candace Owens in a cartoon as a voice.
And then they made, exactly, and then they, made their cartoon, and none of it did. And they made a kid programming, but they geared it towards the parents, because kids don't walk around going like, "I'm sick of the wokeness."
Yes.
And so they made it for the parents and promised them it'll be anti-woke. And then what happens is they have this, whatever the subscription cost to this kid service, and the kids are like, "I don't like it. I don't want to watch it." And then all of a sudden, like, when the kids can't be babysitted by your TV, you cancel. But there's also another issue. And don't take my word for it. Take Milo Yiannopoulos' word for it. Because about a year ago, was this a year ago? Yep. He was on with Tim Pool, and Milo at that time decided, "I'm not holding back on the secrets of how the right-wing media ecosystem works." Now, this was uncomfortable for Tim, because you'll remember this was just after it was discovered that Tim was getting paid somewhere around the neighborhood of $100,000 a video for a company that turned out to be a front for the Russian government.
Yeah, and I'll just say we picked this conversation up right after Milo realized he accidentally talked about something that implicated Tim Pool and talked about everyone implicated as idiots.
Yes.
Franken babies for paying women to birth them as a high moral standard or
sure, but in this regard, I can tell you.
No, I don't really take his word
was
for
wrong.
anything. I don't take his word for anything for all kinds of reasons, particularly how he treated me. He's a liar. He's a liar.
Sure.
He's a slippery, slimy, gross.
I can say in this one regard that involves me, it's not the case.
I don't know that. You may know that because you know things other people don't know. But it's not an unreasonable supposition that they've did. Look, I think we can move on from this.
Oh, pause it for a second. I just want to say, like, the person he's talking about who's a liar is Dave Rubin. Okay, that's not the point of this. But two things can be true. Go back a little bit.
Know that. You may know that because you know things other people don't know. But it's not an unreasonable supposition that they've did. Look, I think we can move on from this. It is no secret that a lot of bad money has gone to people on the right and on the center right. But it's typically the case that right-wing people will go and get investors rather than do advertisers, fake it till they make it, and then they'll get, sort of the big ticket advertisers. So the way Ben Shapiro, the way Candace get famous is they get Wilkes Brothers or they get some other kind of billionaire money, and they buy engagement, they buy followers, and they sort of propel themselves to the top of the heap, and they fake it till they make it, and then eventually it's kind of sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Everybody does that.
Everybody does not do that.
Well, we've never done anything like
Everybody
that.
does not do that. I've said two people.
That's weird. That's a weird thing to say, isn't it? Everybody does that. I mean, except for we don't do that.
We know.
This is sort of reminiscent of like nobody would buy ads on a specific YouTube channel, and then Ian says you did that on Sam Seder's channel.
Yeah, but that was a gag.
But why does he do that? Why does he impulsively get out ahead of it when he knows that they've done these exact same things? It's like a tick.
It is a tick. It is definitely
like a defensive tick to
deny. Yeah. Oh wait. Deny. Oh wait.
It's like what, a child.
Piers Morgan said that he knew nothing about how people would phone hack celebrities' phones in the 90s, but was apparently bragging about it at lunches. Like, oh yeah, you just use the default code and you can get into anyone's phone.
But let's be clear so that we can listen to the rest of this. What Milo is saying. When you buy engagement, what you're doing is you're buying views or downloads or whatever it is. And when you do that, it gets you to the top of the charts. And then the network effect takes over. Like on our podcast weirdly has continued to grow at a, nominal pace over the years. But there's no network effect like there is on YouTube. Because if we're not in the top 10, nobody knows we're there.
Right.
We don't advertise. We probably should somewhere. I don't know where. But my business expertise aside, there's no way for anybody to find it unless like a friend tells them or you guys tell somebody to go listen to this. Even if you give good reviews, it helps, but we're never going to be up in the top 10 where people, and we're not part of a bigger network where we can get introduced to people. But if we were to buy downloads and get to the top 10, then everybody's like, well, I'm going to try this out. And this is the big conservative podcast, and I'm a conservative, and this is the way I identify. And so I'm going to download this, and I'm going to keep downloading it, even if I never even listen to it. And that's what he means, fake it till you make it. There's a problem with that, though, in that the durability of those listeners that you get in that way are suspect. But go back just a little more and let's just listen to that again.
It's typically the case that right-wing people will go and get investors rather than do advertisers, fake it till they make it, and then they'll get, sort of the big ticket advertisers. So the way Ben Shapiro, the way Candace get famous is they get Wilkes Brothers or they get some other kind of billionaire money, and they buy engagement, they buy followers, and they sort of propel themselves to the top of the heap, and they fake it till they make it, and then eventually it's kind of sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Everybody does that.
Everybody does not do that.
Well, we've never done anything like
Everybody does not do that. I said two people who did that, who are or demonstrably did that, right? I didn't say everybody did that. I never did that. When I was canceled, I had the same number of followers as Ben Shapiro and everything. I was growing faster. He was growing more slowly, and 60% of his followers were fake. 100% of mine were organic. In fact, we ran things to get rid of the bots, right?
I love catty conservatives who are pissed at the movement, because that's the only place we get some truth out of those people. So God bless Milo for because I mean that's always what I suspected. At one point back in the day, Ben Shapiro was getting more views on Facebook than the New York Times, and nobody questioned it. And it seemed really suspicious. Now they had spent $3 or $4 million on advertising on Facebook. So like, how much of that is organic? People have told me that they've watched this show and Ben Shapiro advertises on it, not in the way that Tim Pool did, where he directed it onto the show. I imagine it's like political shows. But if you don't stop the video, so for instance, a lot of people just listen to it in the background, our show. They're away from their computer. If you don't stop the ad that comes in, it will play for an hour. You will get the entire Ben Shapiro show. And they will count that as a view, even if it just lasts, like, I think over, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is, before you realize, like, hey, wait a second. What just happened? I was listening to Sam and Emma, and all of a sudden, like, I thought it was a clip, and it turns out to be like I'm watching the Ben Shapiro show. And at one point, the merry-go-round bends, and you're without a chair, or whatever it is. And I think that's what's happening to Shapiro.
Yeah, I think that it's a really notable shift in the online media business model that we're seeing. And we don't have all of the information at our disposal, obviously, because these are kind of private entities. But I really think you see wealthy people realizing that they get way more bang for their buck if they're going to subsidize one creator. And it's all the influencer economy right now. Like the Trump administration's filled with a bunch of influencers that got big that way. And even the Erica Kirk versus Candace Owens thing. It's this mutually beneficial rivalry that they have that drives views for both of them. And so they're simulating drama almost like when in the reality TV heydays with the Real Housewives, but it's just on the right. And people like that stuff. And it sort of is about politics, but it's also sort of not. If you were a benefactor of the Daily Wire, why would you want to subsidize like a whole studio? I think TYT is probably experiencing something very similar with like the fact that they had wealthy investors, and now it's like this whole operation, as opposed to say Candace Owens ranting and raving in her studio and reaching so many more people, millions and millions of people. Tucker Carlson, same thing. So, there are fissures on the right. I think that a lot of the fissures on the right are being conflated with the influencer incentives, which are towards drama. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't fracture things as well, as particularly on the issue of Israel. That can be exploited. We just can't overstate it because they are operating within business incentives that are newer and I think harder for people to get a handle on. But that's what the whole influencer thing is. It's just driving each other to headlines and advertising yourself and placing yourself at the center of so-called news.
But I also think with the right, and I think this is the distinction between like the TYT investment and the investment you see on the right. On the right, it is the returns are not measured necessarily in dollars.
Yeah.
The returns are measured in messaging and politics. The investment that TYT got was just a business investment. I mean, I think they didn't find their politics offensive, although in some instances, some people argue that they moved to the right in part in certain like business things. I don't know if that's true. But my sense is that entity is a business entity that is not perceiving their investment in that as politics. How you operate with that investment is a different question. But the money invested into Shapiro, the money invested into Candace Owens, the money invested into Dave Rubin, the money invested into Tim Pool, from, and it was, they were paying for videos, wildly overpaying.
Yeah.
Was for ideological or political reasons. On almost exclusively. Like, Tenet Media never thought they were going to make back the $100,000 per video they were paying. They were doing this because they want to promote this this message that they had. So too, I think, with the Shapiro supporters, and it is fascinating to see what happens when they're faking it till they make it runs out of juice.
But that's where it's just I think your argument bolsters what I'm saying is that they're just directly subsidizing them now, as opposed, which is essentially what they were doing before by bolstering his advertisements. But if you can directly subsidize creators and you don't have to have the bureaucracy of a board or any of that stuff, and that they're gonna pursue a politics that you support, why wouldn't you do that? Why would you need this formal structure of the Daily Wire and a company like that or a TYT like that, where the individual creators, it's so much cheaper and they have way, way broader reach than what was the case previously?
Yes. I think the technology has passed them by. There's like a legacy. They had a legacy sort of
mindset.
Yeah, they had legacy costs, essentially. And you don't need to have pretend like you're a TV show. You don't need to, they're competing against people with much lower margin. But nevertheless, even with that said, I think the problem that they had is that maybe those billionaires decided to move on to somebody else. But also, no billionaire is going to keep just funneling, unless it's like their pet project, money into this. They may at one point go I'm checking my returns, and it could be that Shapiro got on the wrong side of the Israel debate for a lot of those people. I mean,
but how would we have known about that tenant thing unless there was an indictment? I mean, how many more arrangements are like that? There's less oversight.
I would imagine so many.
There's less that you don't have.
Everybody does it.
You don't have to do.
I mean, we don't do it.
Right. Except for obviously the Kamala Harris campaign ads that we were seeing.
We had the Kamala Harris campaigns.
But like that. But there's less oversight, right? I mean, that's also what's helpful is that you can have a more direct relationship with the creator too. Yeah. I mean, it's just that it's one of the many, many ways that our information economy and economy is broken.
Yep.
And isn't necessarily fixed by something being nominally independent.
Right.
We got a lot of things that we're going to have to carry over to tomorrow, but they're all going to be timely. I wanted to do that David French thing.
I know. We'll get to it.
Do the Tucker, Trump.
It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
We're going to carry over all those things.
Yep.
Folks, I'm going to read a couple IMs and we're going to get out of here.
Affordability.
Dave from Jamaica. Emma, good point. Just elevate individuals will boost your talking points by default.
I think this started during COVID too, with a lot of the anti-vaxxers.
Well, the Vanguard has said they were getting a couple G's from some big donor that I can't remember if it was Harlan Crow or another guy, but a lot of people got anti-vax money.
Well, I also think, they were given money way before that. I think but I think the change in terms of a solo practitioner, if you will, was a function largely of COVID, because even on cable news, all of a sudden, all the cable news hits became Zoom, for lack of, whatever that technology is. So all of a sudden, we're on the same level as cable news if we put a little bit more into our backdrop.
And podcasts exploded as
we got the Ethernet cable.
Yeah.
We were one Ethernet cable away from being CNN.
Well, let's pump the brakes. We had some moments with the camera today.
We did. I know.
Sorry.
But
Don't look at me like
2020,
that.
2020 on is why
this camera?
podcast, both of our cameras.
What?
Just we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
We were that close.
But let's get on to another subject.
Where the f is Soros?
I know.
God damn it.
Qataris.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, who would fund us? The UAE or the Qataris?
Definitely not the UAE. They're
China, maybe.
They're pro-Israel. Qataris, I would guess.
Let's do. Listen,
China?
all I can tell
We
you,
could get China money, right?
Yeah.
what they've been doing with EVs and renewables has been great.
Who, China?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. High-speed trains as well.
Iran could fund us.
Through Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It would be so funny if we were actually being funded by Iran.
Did you see that Ryan
None
Grimm?
of, like all our members.
Yes.
They're funding us at $10 a pop.
Did you see that Ryan Grimm was in one of the Lego videos by the propaganda, and they had a little Lego Ryan Grimm. He changed his profile picture to the Lego version of him.
Wow.
What about us?
I know.
Grimm's on the up and up right now.
I know. So all the hard work and journalism he does is paying off. God damn it. Isn't that cool?
I mean, I resent it, but yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
California resistance. Sam, depositors used to get dishes and toasters too. Oh, believe me, I know. The Baileys. Down with the tyranny of the bourgeoisie. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Long live the revolution. Noel from San Fran. Well, I guess I'm F, Sam. My mom already has an Aura frame using coupon code majority. Send her too. Why wouldn't you? Honestly. I'll do Aura frames all through my house. Ad hominem, may the 4th be with you. Nice. Jordy, PhD. Shapiro is what if someone talked like Obama but was petty and vindictive as Biden.
That's so true. Yes.
Matt from Tampa. I hate our governor. Suddenly Cedar. Milo, please never stop being a messy bitch.
Yeah. I can't do it, yeah.
Mr. Fun. Hey, Sam, I'd like to recommend Synergy. It allows one to use a keyboard and mouse across multiple computers. It works over Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's what we need.
More technology? Yeah. Manchester by the Sea. Is Emma well? Someone call an ambulance. Oh, that was when you were coughing.
Oh.
Leftist Cajun. Lev Parnas told Joy Reid Iran is negotiating through Putin to Trump. Her latest video. Leftist rage. The BS going on with Spirit Airlines closing, the people waiting to board their flight is outstanding right now. This is the kind of real life impact that shows regular people what happens when everything is privatized. Emma's camera demon. Sam Cedar's in bed with Big Tushy. Hogtown. Come on, Sam. You can't reasonably expect the Democrats to capitalize on Trump's historic unpopularity and incompetence when they need to relitigate Hassan Piker for the 10th time.
There's a new one where we got called the majority support. By,
Yes.
Unheard.
AI article.
Jack Spratt, 42. As a pacifist, I would much rather my tax dollars go to foreign aid and diplomacy than bombing girls' schools.
Don't think you need to be a pacifist to
Sunset Lake PBD. Didn't Ben Shapiro slip up and reveal that Lady Ballers was initially supposed to be a documentary where Daily Wire staff were going to cross-dress to show how easy it is to pretend to be trans and join a women's team, but they couldn't find any team that would take them, so pivoted to a comedy?
Yeah, he said that in their little hangout show that they couldn't find any real rubber to hit the road, so they made it a comedy.
So they were trying to make Lady Birds, but like the documentary version of it?
They were trying to prove how crazy society has become by doing a documentary, and then they realized they can't do it, so they have to fictionalize. It is called creating a straw man.
Right.
As you can see, what happens to the Lady Ballers, that's crazy. Sad dad. Affordability has got to be a sound drop for abundance usage. Granny Mills. Can I get a shofar? It's my birthday today. You certainly can. Happy birthday. All right, 4 more. Leon, oh no, California. No, I already did that one. Somehow these. Special Edward. This is all such garbage. If I had control of the levers of power, every single unqualified Trump appointee would be recalled or removed from their undeserved positions by any and every means possible. Every rubber stamped appointment needs to be completely cleaned out like black mold. Yeah, people have to understand the limited resources that we're going to have to do this. Monopsonist. Hey, crew, I sent a new Fun Half song to Majority Reporters at Gmail. Check. Okay, we will do that. Brian? New Fun Half song to Majority Reporters. Congressional baseball fan. I figured it out. Trump sounds like a town crier when he keeps saying affordability. He just needs to ring a bell when he says it. 2 more. Progressive Blob 2028 was just writing about the 13% 13,000 thing. Good catch, Emma. But also, ignorance of the most people about tax bracket math is astounding.
It's crazy when people with real money don't understand it.
Yep. Right.
Maybe it's a 1.3% tax. Did she have the 13,000 wrong? I think it's 1.3%, right? The California tax. Regardless, it doesn't kick in at that amount. Joel Liber Bussy. I listened to Brian's Neon Piss. Not bad.
Thanks.
What is Neon Piss? Is that your band?
That was one of my, yeah, that was probably the biggest band I was in.
Oh, cool.
I didn't know that. We should play some of that. Is it licensed?
Yeah, to me. Yes.
Dude.
I think the record label went under, I'm pretty sure.
Can't believe you didn't come up and let's wheel and deal.
What do you mean?
Interstitial music. Jimmy, I'll die on this hill. I'm still waiting for Majority Report branded butt pillow. And the final I am of the day, I don't know what that means. Nicola. Call up Hassan. He'll hook you up. Matt, Brian, Emma, great job today. Folks, see you tomorrow.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there.